What would I buy for $1,000? Ooh, that song. You know, you can listen to that song on Apple Music, Spotify, and all the other music services. It's true. You can also shower the songwriter with praise and the finest meats and cheeses in all the land. What's up, everyone? Welcome to the channel, and thank you for tuning into this video. We all should thank my wife Shannon for this video because this was her idea. She has regularly told me for a while, you know, hey, you should really do a video of what would you actually buy if you had so much money, if you had $1,000 or whatever sum of money. And also thank Sweetwater. This is through the Sweetwater affiliate program, and today I am picking up a used rig through Gear Exchange. This is sponsored by them to help promote Gear Exchange, which is the used gear affiliate of Sweetwater. They are in cahoots, so to speak. They are conglomerated. They're in a confederacy. Okay, bad word, we're not going to go with that. But the really cool thing about Gear Exchange is that you get all the backing from Sweetwater. It is all used in vintage. You don't have any new stuff peppered in. So that's really cool, actually, because I buy a lot of used stuff. You know, a lot of people ask me, like, how do I get this really cool guitar collection? There are a lot of different ways, but one of the biggest things, especially in the earlier days, was I never bought stuff new. I always get stuff used. I don't particularly care if it's beat up a little bit. And I'm not knocking anyone who prefers new stuff. I totally get that impetus, but I don't care, and you can get a lot of great deals if you look for stuff used. So really cool things about Gear Exchange. It's all used. You get Sweetwater backing. One of the big things about that is they have Sweetwater's negotiated shipping fees. So you get much lower shipping fees, which really helps. If you're a seller, you can actually sell your gear and get a gift card, and then you incur no fees, 0 fees if you get a gift card. If you go for cash, it's 7.5, which is a 5% seller fee and a 2.5% processing fee, which is better than some of the other leading competitors in the used gear online market. So today I'm putting together a used rig, and I'm doing this entirely through Gear Exchange, but I'm actually going to do 2 for the price of 1. I'm actually going to do 2 full rigs here. They're under $1,000 each. Now, Sweetwater sponsored one of them. The other one I just did entirely on my own. First of all, I realize that a lot of you value my opinion, and I don't want to take that for granted. So I'm not trying to be wishy-washy here, but here's the thing. There are a number of different rigs I would get depending on the situation, and there are just a lot of cool options out there. And the more I was researching, I was actually really agonizing over what rigs to get. And I thought, you know, I'm going to do 2. I'm going to let you all vote on it. So we're going to go through the buying process. We're going to go through some of the other things that I looked at. We're going to look at 2 awesome used rigs for under $1,000, and please let me know in the comments which one you prefer. So we're going to dive in with rig number 1. Now, if we're being totally honest, if I had $1,000 to buy a used guitar rig and this was all that I had, this is the only thing that I have going for me, I'm going to want something that gives me supreme versatility, supreme quality, and supreme playability. Now, anytime you're building a rig, and particularly used, and especially particularly online, I am going to start with the amplifier. The amplifier is really the anchor of your tone. It's the foundation of your tone, so to speak. And also because looking used and looking online, you will see higher shipping rates than you will with guitars or other gear. So for my first rig, it's going to be just an amp and a guitar, and I'm going for supreme versatility and quality. Okay, so I'm at my computer, I'm on Gear Exchange, and I am starting with an amplifier. Now, in the search for a very versatile amplifier, there's several on my list, including things like the Boss Katana, the Fender Mustang, actually the Blackstar Silverline, which is a really cool digital modeling amplifier that gives you tons of options that I've used before. And I'm kind of keeping my eye open on everything, and luckily I stumbled on this one. My first amplifier is the Boss Next Tone. Now, some of you have heard me suggest this one before. I've tried it before, and it's just an amazing amplifier. Really a good deal on this one. Used with shipping, it was $405. So that gives me good range to look at what I'm going to get for my guitar to go with it. Now, I've also had my eye on several guitars, and for this first part, I am looking again for a versatile guitar. If we're talking about a single amp and guitar rig, I want something that's high quality that can do it all. So one of the ones on my list is going to be the PRS SE series, and I'm thinking based on what's available that I'll mostly be able to afford a CE. Now there's several other guitars that I kind of had my eye on. I thought maybe like an Ibanez or a Fender HSS Stratocaster, something Mexican, or even a Squier. Some really cool other options here. There was this awesome old Charvel with EMGs from the 90s that I thought looked really, really cool, but I didn't think it was quite going to fit with what I was trying to do here. So what I wound up finding though, and this is one of the benefits of following it for a week and not making, jump decisions, if you kind of keep your eye on things and keep it on your watch list, then you can see that the prices go down sometimes. For my guitar, I am pleased to say I was able to get the one that I absolutely wanted the most, the PRS SE Custom 24. This is one that I was watching, and again, they dropped the price a little bit because there's a little ding in the side. I don't care about that kind of stuff. I trust PRS more than most other companies for quality. And in fact, the PRS SE line in general has really shaken up the guitar world with the fact that a high-end American company can have an import line that is so good and so high quality, I think has really caused a lot of other companies to reevaluate what they have in their lineup for a similar price point. Now, some people, some snobs may scoff at this. They may say, a PRS SE into a Boss solid-state amp? Yeah, right. Let me tell you something. If you can't get a good tone out of this rig, you need to focus a lot less on gear and a lot more on your playing. This rig sounds absolutely awesome. The PRS guitar plays beautifully. It's got coil splitting. Also one of the few companies that I trust really well to do coil splitting because I'm very finicky about coil splitting. The Boss Next Tone gives you some awesome options, including mimicking various power tubes. So you have 6V6, 6L6, EL84, and EL34, and basically that's modeling several of the classic amps in history. 6V6 being in the smaller Fender line, 6L6 of course being in the larger Fender line, as well as many other amplifiers including Mesa Boogies and Dumbles and things like that. EL84 is the classic Vox power tube, and EL34 is the classic British, like a Marshall power tube. So you've got all those. You also have delay, tremolo, reverb. These are all editable through the computer program. You have multiple reverbs you can choose from, multiple delays you can choose from. You can get right into the sag of the amplifier, whether or not it's fixed bias or adjustable bias. I'm not going to get into any of that stuff. What I want to do now is play you some just really inspiring rigs from this very straightforward guitar and amplifier setup. So that's my first rig. Now, again, if I could only have one rig, if I had $1,000 to spend, this is probably the one that I would get. The guitar was $530. The amplifier was $405. So altogether, $935 came in a pretty decent deal under $1,000 for this rig. And it does pretty much everything that I want it to, especially considering that the Boss included the foot switch. I forgot to mention that. The Boss came with the foot switch. Another cool thing about buying used is frequently, that foot switch is expensive. You have to buy it separately if you get the amplifier new. And oftentimes when you buy something used, you get things like that. And that's not the only time I'm going to get something cool in addition to what I'm getting. So now we're going to move on to our second rig. Now, the second rig is more classic. It's more versatile in some ways because I'm also going to add in some pedals and I'm going to add in some cool modulation effects. I'm also going to go more classic in the sense that I'm going with a tube amp and an older style guitar. This is a rig that I would be more likely to get if I already had something like the first rig to be the, I don't want to say security blanket of my setup, because it's more than just a security blanket. The first rig was a really good sounding rig, but it's something that I feel safe with. It's something that I know I have, and I know I can have as something very reliable and high quality. The Boss amplifier can plug direct into a PA. It can record direct in. The PRS just is phenomenal. It stays in tune great. It's got the coil splitting. It plays beautifully. So you've got a lot of reliability in that rig as well as versatility. Now this is the second rig. This is still definitely one that I would get for $1,000, but I might get it if I already had something else like that. So again, we're going to start with the amplifier here. I'm thinking probably something in the Fender line is going to be what I'm mostly going to find, which would be great, if you get a Blues Junior or a Hot Rod Deluxe or a Blues Deluxe or something like that. Another amplifier company, though, that's on my list, again, is Blackstar, which Blackstar make really great amplifiers, and they have their HT series. And I thought that would probably be the one to find, but what was really surprising was this one. For my Rig 2 amplifier, a Blackstar Artist 30. I really can't believe how much people overlook Blackstar amps. I have reviewed very few of them. Blackstar amps are some of the best amps I've heard in the budget line, or the reasonable kind of middle of the road budget line. They sound great. They're versatile. They're reliable as far as what I have played and what I have owned, and I'm just really stunned. I was thinking I might be able to get one of the the Club 40 type amplifiers, but I actually found the Artist 30 for cheaper. It was $389, and free shipping on that one too, which is amazing because it's a big heavy amplifier. This is a 2-channel amp. It's got clean, it's got overdriven, it's got reverb, and it has the really cool ISF effect, which allows you to kind of tailor or blend the sound between American or British. And now we're going to start with some pedals. Sometimes you find something that's sort of too good a deal to pass up, and that was what I found here. Now this is going to limit what I can get for the guitar, but I found this great deal on this pedal that can do a ton of things, and from a company that I absolutely love. The pedal that I just could not pass up is the Keeley Supermod Workstation. This is a phenomenal pedal that will give me pretty much any modulation effect I want. I could also expand it with an expression pedal. One of the cool things that people don't talk about with this pedal is that there's a level control for each modulation, and it has also reverb and delay options. So I'm going to use one side for modulation. I'm going to use the other side for not only a delay, but a boost delay, so I can get a solo boost with the delay sound anytime I want to, really rip into solo territory. And now I'm going to start looking for the guitar. Now again, that limits my selection on guitar, because that was a little bit more than I was anticipating for a modulation pedal. I've got my eye on a bunch of different guitars that could fit the bill here. There's a great D'Angelico, which is a company I've worked with a lot. They make really awesome gear. Also several Gretsch Electromatic Jets that I think would really fit the bill, but they're just a little out of my price range because of getting that pedal. Now, I could have gone with a cheaper pedal and gone with something like that. But I had actually found this other guitar, and this is a little bit of a different angle. This is really cool, and it's more versatile than I think people think. But this is a really cool guitar, and I actually made an offer on this one for just a little bit less to try and make it fit, and I'm very excited that the seller accepted. For the guitar, a Dan Electro Blackout 59. How cool is this? And it is purple sparkle. Now, I know what all of you are saying. This is a unique thing. This is a little off the beaten path. I very easily could have also gone with a Gretsch Electromatic Jet, which are superb guitars. There are a lot of reasons I went with the Dan Electro. One of which is that this is what they do. This is what Dan Electro does. This is as good a Dan Electro guitar as you can find. Now, I'm not saying that in a way to knock the Gretsch Electromatic Jets, because the Gretsches are really good guitars. They're very, very respectable guitars. They play great. They sound great. But Gretsch has a whole range of guitars. This one is in the lower level. Dan Electro, this is what they do. This is basically their top of the line. You know, they not that it's the only like highest model that they have or anything, but it's basically like as good as any Dan Electro you can get. So you know you're getting your all from the company. The other thing is that this one comes with the NOS Plus lipstick pickups, which are a little bit higher output. And I'm going to venture to say that the Dan Electros are more versatile than a lot of people think they are. They're not just that kind of spaghetti western, super clean, twangy sound. And if you need proof, just remember that Jimmy Page played Kashmir on one of these. So if you think you need to rock harder than Jimmy Page playing Kashmir, again, you should really think about your whole guitar playing situation. However, all that being said, I'm going to kind of double back or go back a little bit on what I just said, which is the Blackstar Artist 30 isn't the gainiest amp, and the Dan Electro is still a bit of a lower output guitar. But because I was able to get the deal on the Dan Electro, which came with a case, it came with a case. It does not come with a case new, it came with a case used. How cool is that? Because I was able to get the Dan Electro for a little bit cheaper, I have just enough to throw in an overdrive pedal. It's a company that makes great inexpensive gear, and I found a really, really good deal on an overdrive pedal, which is going to round it out and give me, again, more options to push it a little further than I otherwise might be able to do. The NuX Morningstar Overdrive, it's like a blues breaker with a bright mode. Really great pedals from NuX. This is a very solid overdrive. I've used it before. It sounds good, and I know that this is going to give me just kind of the extra boost that I need. So, all my prices with shipping. You've got the amplifier, the Blackstar Artist 30 at $389. With shipping, the Keeley Mod workstation was $165. The Dan Electro, $400 even. And then the NuX Morningstar was $36. And if my calculations are correct, still under $1,000. How cool is this rig for under $1,000? Now, I should mention before I dive into this next sample that this is not adding in things like cables, power supplies. This is just the gear. So straight up gear. Obviously, if I needed some of the extra intangibles like that, I would have had to pare it down a little bit more. But let's dive in and hear how good this rig sounds. I think those are some really awesome, inspiring tones that go way beyond what I think a lot of people would expect a Dan Electro to do. The Blackstar amp sounds phenomenal. The clean in particular is beautiful. The overdrive is great because it works in either the clean channel or boosting the overdrive channel. The mod workstation just, again, gives you pretty much everything that you want. You heard some tremolo, you heard some phaser, you heard the boost delay. I also had the plate reverb on with the tremolo. And, just really, really good tones from that. And the purple sparkle. How can you beat the purple sparkle? It's awesome. So now it is time for you to vote. Please let us know in the comments, which rig would you go with? Or do you agree with me? Do you kind of go like, hey, maybe that first rig is one that I might anchor my setup with, and then if I had more to do a second rig, might go with something like this. Also, let me know in the comments, what would you get? Now, I looked at a lot of different guitars for this. There was a really cool Godin Session that was, it was one that had like a Roland synth thing in it, but that wasn't quite working, but I wouldn't have used that anyway, and the rest of the guitar was working fine. That was on my list. I mentioned the Charvel was on my list. I looked at Ibanez guitars, Ibanez Artcore. I looked at D'Angelicos. I looked at Squiers. I looked at Fender Mexican-made standard guitars and everything. I looked at a whole slew, and honestly, any one of them would have really been pretty great. Any one of them would have worked well. So in respect to people who are not into these choices, I'm also going to put a list of the gear in the description that I also would have easily gotten and probably had an awesome tone with. So let us know in the comments which of these rigs you prefer. Let us know what you would get with $1,000. Remember to check out Gear Exchange. Really cool deals. It's a great place to sell, especially for the lower fees, and also for the ability to bypass the fees entirely if you're looking to get a gift card. I'm Jack Fossett. Remember to like, share, and subscribe, and we'll see you next time.